Horror movies are supposed to be scary, right? I mean, there's nothing groundbreaking about that concept. Isn't that like the whole point of a horror movie, right? To scare you? But sometimes filmmakers manage to sneak in some subliminal messages underneath the entire plot of the show, which audiences might not even notice while they're watching everything unfold. In today's video, we're going to be going over some of these secret undertones that directors have cleverly hidden inside their films. So let's dive in. First up, The Shining symbolizes the death of Native America. The Shining is a cult classic horror film. If you're a fan of the genre, then you've definitely heard of the show. If you haven't already watched it, that is. And the film is widely regarded as Stanley Kubrick's greatest masterpiece. However, underneath all that masterful writing and acting lies something far more sinister and darker than an axe-wielding psychopath hunting down anything that breathes. Some viewers have theorized that the film is actually an allegory for the death of Native America. The evidence which supports this theory is the fact that the hotel in which everything goes down is shown to be built on top of an ancient Indian burial ground. Considering that this detail wasn't in the original books, this means that it was something that Kubrick just added to the film himself. When you look at the movie from this perspective, a lot of things start clicking, making sense. Halloran getting axed to death represents the betrayal of the colonizers, and the elevator filled with blood symbolizes the genocide of indigenous people. Even the name of the hotel, the Overlook, is possibly an indication of the ability of people to overlook past tragedies that don't directly involve them. There are several references to Native Americans throughout the movies, possibly as a reminder of the bloody past that America has. None of this is ever actually, stated in the movie though, so take it with a grain of salt. However, even if that were true, the country itself would rather sweep the topic under the rugs than bring it up. Drag Me to Hell is an allegory for bulimia. While the film revolves around the theory of a young woman who is plagued by a curse as well as a whole collection of other absurd demonic activity, supernatural threat might not even be all that it appears to be. The film highlights the slow descent of our main character Christine as she suffers both mentally and physically at the hands of her own eating disorder, known as bulimia. This sickness is personified in the form of lamia that is hunting down her soul, when in reality, it's actually just her that's stuck in a seemingly endless battle with this spirit. During her childhood, she was relentlessly bullied by the people around her. She was dubbed the Swine Queen. Christine struggles with letting go of the past and becoming a successful and attractive banker. Food is the one link that she has to her past life, and she refuses to acknowledge it. This theory is supported by the fact that the lamia always manifests itself and attacks Christine whenever she's in close proximity to food items. Even the old lady could possibly be a way to represent the aftermath of her mental illness going out of control and taking over her completely. She's a version of Christine that's from the future, symbolizing how society pressurizes young women into being thin and attractive and condemns them for going against their wishes. Next, Battle Royale represents the pressures of education. The infamous Japanese movie which inspired a whole genre of film and video games, such as The Hunger Games and Fortnite, shows a group of students who are dumped on a deserted island and forced to fight to the death until there's only one that's left standing. And as with everything else on this list, it's not allowed to be just a bit of brutal fun in the name of horror movies. Instead, no, it's an exploration of the pressures that are mounted on students in the Japanese education system. Didn't the uniforms give it away? Just like every other entry on this list, this film isn't just a brutal tale of a group of people battling for survival. Instead, it's a representation of the pressures that students face on a daily basis. Maybe the fact that everyone is still wearing their school uniforms throughout the film supports this idea. The students are forced to go into war with each other in order to survive. If this is true, then the film is quite the satirical take on how young people are forced to step on their fellow peers to reach the top of their educational potential. Only one person can be the best in their class, and only one person is allowed to keep their life. Another subtle nod is the fact that whenever anyone dies in this movie, it's always because they dropped their guard around another character or showed any compassion to their fellows. Breaking the rule has its consequences after all. Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the meat industry, a revolutionary addition to the genre, inspiring both slasher movies and iconic horror movie villains ever since its release in 1974. While it might be the granddaddy of the most gritty, gory movies we've come to know and love over the years, it's also a reference to animal rights. Wait, yeah, no, we're just as confused as you are. Viewers have noticed that the film seemingly puts all of its characters into the shoes of animals that have been sent to the slaughterhouse, experiencing the fear that those creatures feel being subjected to industrial agriculture in their final moments. This isn't even that much of a reach when you consider the film's premise, though. All the way from the first on-screen death, a man enters a safe-looking house with no idea what awaits him on the other side, and gets smacked with the blunt end of a hammer, and then eventually gets cut up into bite-sized chunks. Of course, the film's Sawyer family once ran a slaughterhouse, and it looks like they like to reenact those practices on their unfortunate victims. Meat hooks are pretty much an integral part of the film, so it cannibalizes the people that they kill near the end while poor Sally watches on in horror. We doubt a therapist is going to be enough to fix that trauma. Every victim throughout this movie is the once living animal that we consume every single day. After all, you'd think twice about eating a juicy looking steak if it had been cut out of a human, right? Bird Box symbolizes social media. Do any of you guys remember the Bird Box challenge where people wandered around wearing blindfolds all over the place, even into oncoming traffic? That's neither. Yeah, but the internet was sure to fame it as a global epidemic of stupidity. Coincidentally, Unfortunately, that phenomenon was an exact representation of the very real problem that the film was trying to show in the first place. The fact that social media was actually the unseen monster that destroyed our daily lives. But why social media? Well, it's always present. It's capable of maddening the minds of users on a global scale, which has been proven time and time again to disrupt the mental health of its users. And yet, it only takes effect when you look at it directly. The people who have been corrupted by the unseen foe can be compared to the internet trolls who weaponize social media to do nothing but troll and terrorize the lives of innocent users, intending to purposely bring harm to people online. This theory is further and further reinforced by the fact that at the beginning of the movie, the two sisters, Jessica and Mallory, have a conversation about Mallory's painting, which was a parody of Da Vinci's famous piece, The Last Supper, reimagined as a group of people busy on their phones. Mallory comments, "The loneliness is just incidental. It's really about people's inability to connect." If that isn't meta commentary, then we really don't know what is. We repeatedly see mobile and computer screens smashed as a survival tactic, and we hear impossible memories, which could only have been normally accessed through digital recordings. And to top it all off, we even have a straight-up warning from news anchors instructing people to avoid social media at all costs, leading us to a world where technology is a thing of the past. Beetlejuice is a personification of agoraphobia. Beetlejuice is one of the defining horror movies of a generation, encapsulating Tim Burton's wonderful and absolutely insane vision of a world inhabited by the dead, and making horror all the more fun for it. The plot depicts Barbara and Adam Maitland, who are rather unfortunately killed in a car accident. However, that doesn't stop their spirits from wandering back home. And once they're inside, it's where they stay, spending the entirety of the movie attempting to scare off another family looking to move in. The fact that the Maitlands are permanently trapped within the confines of the mortal world is interesting, as some have likened it to the experience of agoraphobia. Agoraphobics are terrified of leaving their home, of personal safe space, with the prospect of leaving an incredibly daunting task to them. If you consider how the Maitlands experience a vast wasteland full of sandworms and death when they open the door of their home, it's not hard to link the two together as a realization of this type of fear. And that's a wrap for this video. Are there any other hidden messages in horror movies that you think people have missed? Let us know in the comments section below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one. See you in the next one.